Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Cooking with Michael. Tonight we're going to be doing something, a nice dish that's really good for date night. Today is Saturday, so it is actually the real date night. If you did watch my intro or watch my last video, first of all, thank you, and I hope you liked and subscribed to it so you can continue to watch more and see as they get posted. I did learn some things from the first video. The first thing was don't use two cameras. That turned into a colossal disaster. So I'm going to be using just one this time, and hopefully it'll go pretty smoothly. But tonight we're going to be making something really special. We're going to be making seared pork chops with Sofrito Sauce, which is a Puerto Rican seasoning made with cilantro, tomatoes, bell peppers, and some other peppers and seasonings. A friend of mine who's from Puerto Rico made it, and it is phenomenal. And it makes the seared pork chops taste even that much better. Reason why you sear the pork chops, we'll get into that a little later, but it also helps keep it nice and juicy, and then it'll dry out. And it's like a flash seasoning, so you'll see it. It's fantastic. We're gonna couple that with garlic potatoes, not garlic mashed potatoes, but garlic potatoes, and I'll show you how we do that. Real simple, real easy recipe. As you know, if you watch the first two videos, the intro and the first full cooking video, that everything I'm doing is really about ease, speed, and tastiness. So we can have a great date night so you don't spend so much time cooking and you spend more time with the person that you want to spend time with, your loved one, your significant other, or whatnot, in order to have the great date night that you deserve. So I'm going to get started here in just a moment. When we come back, I'm going to begin the making of the potatoes, and then we will go from there into the pork chops. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I'll take a break, and we'll come right back. All right, welcome back. We are back, and I've adjusted the camera to see the stove, which is really probably what you want to see more, and not my face, but you want to see the actual food and how it's being cooked. So I've adjusted the camera so it's actually showing where we're going to be. First things first, if you watched my last video, we don't get started until we have our Pinot Grigio. Great white wine. This one is Dark Horse. As I said, it is our favorite. So, if you like to try a good Pinot Grigio, I highly recommend this one. So pour it. I've got my glass here with a little bit in it. And if you want to join me, have a little sip, and we'll get started. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 6 red potatoes, okay? Just small red potatoes. I just went and got these actually from my local market, so they're very fresh, whatnot. They've already been cleaned, so I kind of, took a shortcut, cleaned them before we went onto camera here. You can use the old-fashioned cutting board and knife, and that's fine. But I use a food processor, and the reason why I do is, to be honest with you, it saves a ton of time. One of the best things it's ever invented. If you've never used one, highly recommend getting one. Again, you can use a knife and cut it, slice it, chop it, whatever you want to do. I do think that the food processor makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker. Again, the idea is ease of use and quickness, so you can spend more time eating and talking with your date night partner. So just real quick, want to show you, we do use the cutting blade. We do not use the blade inside to chop or anything like that. This is just a slicing blade. All we're doing here is just putting it in there and getting it in and closing it up. Now, a couple of things. Take the top off there. You will notice that some go in, some do not. They don't fit in there. So if you are, in fact, have one that potato is a little bit too big to fit, we will have to cut that. And so some of these I will have to cut at least a little bit just to make them fit. But to start off with, and it's going to be loud, so I apologize, we're going to go ahead and start the first one. Pretty much just going to drop it in there. I'm going to push this down, and I'm going to push on here the slice shred. Now, here we go. Just like that, it's done. Let me show you what it looks like. Take the top off. And they slice into perfect slices, okay? So all you got to do is do that for the 6 that you're in there. 6 will do just fine for 2 people. If you're doing it for more, obviously you want to add more potatoes if you're doing it for more people. But for 2 people, 6 is fine. So I'll put the second one in there, push it down, put it on, and just just keep doing it until all 6 of these are done. Now this last one, I have to actually get a cutting board and cut it into half because it is a little bit too big, as you can see, to fit in there. You don't ever want to force it in there because you don't want to take a chance of breaking your food processor. Again, a fantastic thing that I love to use and has become very handy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take just my ordinary knife, cut it right in half, boom, done. Now I can put that in there, and the interesting part is I can actually put both of them in there now, okay? So we're just going to go push this through and slide it. And that's it. 6, you see how quick that was. All right, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get out my container. Now, what's really important to do, and I forgot to do this originally, so shame on me, I have to drink a little bit of wine because I forgot. I'm going to preheat the oven, okay? And we're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees, okay? So we're just going to hit bake, 400 degrees. And in my house, I don't know about your house, got to make sure there's nothing in the oven. But so we're going to do that real quick, cook it to 400 degrees. And I'm just going to check my recipe because I actually do keep all of my recipes on my tablet on the wall. So anyway, so that's good. So it's 400 degrees. It's gonna heat up. And while it's doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to actually take out the food processor. Okay. Get the little scraps of potato off there. And I'm going to put that in there. Put that in the sink. And I'm pretty much done with this. Then I'm going to take and I'm basically going to pour the sliced potatoes into this dish. Square dish is fine. You want to use a little longer rectangle dish, not a big deal. Whatever you feel comfortable using. All will work, no problem. Stick that in the sink, and I'm done with that. I'm also going to move the food processor because I'm actually done with that as well. Take these out of the way. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like a little bit first. So, as you can see, just put the potatoes in there. You can move them around a little bit, whatnot. Okay? Then, what we're going to do, we're going to take a little bit of a mixing bowl. Just a small mixing bowl. Okay? Now we're going to mix the sauce that goes on top. It's garlic and lemon sauce, okay? Sounds a little strange, garlic and lemon, but it is a very, very good thing. So what we do is we melt a half a stick of butter, okay? Take the half stick of butter, put it in there, okay? Now, if you remember from the last video, I said I don't do a whole lot of measuring. Some things you kind of have to. This is one of those things you have to. So I take that, and then I take, basically, they're asking for 1 full lemon squeezed juice. I use just the lemon juice. Again, easier than having to squeeze lemon. If you want to use a fresh lemon and squeeze the juice out, totally up to you. But I take it and I just put a little bit in there. Not a lot, but a little bit in there. And then minced garlic. You can use fresh garlic if you want and chop it up. That's fine. I like the minced garlic. Again, not only is it easy, but it does just fine. So basically what you want to do is you want to use 2 teaspoons of the minced garlic. Now, because I am who I am, I have no idea what I did with my 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, so I'm going to just do 2 teaspoons of the garlic. Okay. Which is actually 4 half teaspoons, in case you couldn't figure that out on your own. I'm done with that, so that will go in the sink as well. Put the lid back on that. Now, what I'm going to do is grab a spoon, and I'm going to mix it, okay? I'm going to mix it up perfectly, okay? You'll see, it's a nice little mixture. It doesn't seem like there's a lot there, but it will do exactly what you want to do. Why? Because we're not using a ton of potatoes, but it also will, again, you don't want to overpower with too much garlic or too much butter or whatnot. So this will be perfect mixture. So you mix it till it's fully mixed up, and then you just drizzle it back and forth over top of the potatoes. Okay? Just keep going. So it's all in there, and you kind of scrape it out kind of thing. Okay? Now, you may think it's not getting to all the potatoes, but believe me, as long as it's going to cook, it's going to get in there. Okay? So after you do that, kind of mix it around a little bit. Okay? After you do that, we're done with that. Then what you want to do is take, I use sea salt grinder, and just do a couple of turns on top. Okay? After that, aluminum foil, which is very important. So aluminum foil over top of it. You want to cover it first, and you want to cook it covered for 45 minutes once it gets to the temperature. But you want to cook it for 45 minutes. After it starts cooking for 45 minutes, then I'll show you how we take off the aluminum foil and let it cook for another 10 to 15 minutes uncovered. Okay? Then you get yourself a nice garlic potato. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. I'm almost there, actually. It's almost preheated. My oven actually preheats pretty quickly. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven, stick it in there, set our timer for 45 minutes, and that's it for the potatoes for right now. When we come back, after this pause, again, for you it'll only be a second or two, when we come back, we will start on the pork chops. But I'm actually going to wait until the potatoes are almost done, because the pork chops will actually only take a few minutes. So, but I'll show you how we get them ready, and then we'll show you how you cook those as well. Sear them on a skillet on the stove. So when we come back, we'll be doing that, and we'll go from there. Hope you're enjoying it. Drink a little more wine, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. The timer just went off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the potatoes out first before I get to the pork chops, because like I said before, we have to take off the aluminum foil. But I want to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in here and get a whole bunch of steam on my glasses, but that's okay. Take off the aluminum foil. And that's what they look like so far. So what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm literally just going to put it right back in the oven, uncovered, for about 10 to 15 minutes. The whole idea is that you want to have it soft to the fork, okay? They're kind of there, but not right. That's why you need to get it uncovered. So we'll go ahead and put those back in, and we will set the timer for another 10 minutes to start off with, and we might have to do another 5 minutes after that. So we'll do 10 to start off with. Now, the fun part. Pork chops. You'll see they're about maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, or so. The cooking really depends on how thick they are. The thinner the pork chops, obviously, the quicker the pork chops. I like them like this. It's actually perfect for what I think, because it actually does good flavor, and you cook these about 5 to 10 minutes on each side. But, as we talked about originally, this is a Puerto Rican flavored pork chop. We're going to use a sofrito. So, and for those of you, by the way, who speak Spanish, and I'm saying sofrito wrong, I apologize. So, just getting that. By the way, that voice in the background was my wife, who is enjoying this all the way around. So, this is what it is. It's just a little bit of seasoning. I actually have a bunch in the freezer, and what I do is I break off a little bit, and I defrost it just a little bit, just enough to cover it. Again, the whole idea is you don't want to overpower the pork chops. You want to add to the pork chop flavor. So take a little bit off, just a little bit on and you just brush it on, okay? You do a little bit at a time on each one, okay? And you may not see the big chunks of it or whatnot on your pork chop, and that's okay, because the seasoning is still getting there, even though the big chunks aren't there. But you want to get enough seasoning on there to make it worth. So we're just brushing it on here. Okay. Put it back on that one, because I don't think I got enough on that one. Put it on that one, because again, same thing. I don't think I got enough on that one. But brush it around, kind of mix it, that kind of thing. And I'm going to let it sit a few minutes. That way the sofrito sauce actually does kind of get into it a little bit. And you only do it on one side. If you do it on both sides, it does tend to overpower. Depending on your culture, some people like that taste on both sides. I'm not one for that, but that's really up to you. You let it sit just for a couple minutes, let it sit there while it's going. And then I'll put that in the sink as well. Okay? So then what you do, and I'm going to actually use a saucepan or as opposed to a skillet for two reasons. One, my skillet actually, well, it didn't end up too well in the dishwasher, so I need a new skillet. But this actually does very good because it does give you the higher ends, and you are going to get some grease coming out of the pork chops and whatnot. So it's good. I like doing that. Take a little bit of your olive oil, okay? And you want to take just a little bit of olive oil, and you want to put it in there. Again, no measuring. You just want to basically coat the bottom. You're not going to take. I remember if you were like me and your mother showed you how to cook. I love my mother to death, but she was a terrible cook. But she always was real big on when you put the grease in there, you take a paper towel and you wipe it around to get it nice all coated. I don't do that. I put it in there. I turn on the burner, and then when it gets hot, you can actually move it around. Now, this isn't hot yet, of course. But when it gets hot, the olive oil will get just a little bit thinner. It makes it easier to move around just with the pan itself. And then what you want to do is when it gets hot, you want to test it using just a little bit of, put your finger on the faucet, get a little bit of water in your finger, and throw it on top of it. If it bubbles and sparks a little bit, and I don't mean sparks as in fire, by the way, but it jumps a little bit, then it's ready to go. And that's when you put your pork chops on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause us right now, and we'll come back in just a moment because I want to let those potatoes get done a little more. So, because as I said, this is going to be fairly quick. I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to go ahead and... All right, we're back. As I said, for you, it's only a second or so. The pan is actually still heating up. The pork chops will take about 5 to 10 minutes before on either side. So, we're going to let the potatoes cook continuously in the oven. Even when they're almost done, you let them continue to cook. So, now the grease is starting to get, as you can see, the olive oil, and maybe you can't see, it's hard to tell with the light, but as the olive oil gets warmer, it gets a little bit thinner, so it's easier to move around, which is really nice. So I'm going to do, and then I'm going to just test it real quick. Put my finger on there, and just a little bit of bubble, but not enough yet to make it worth it. We're not ready yet, just yet. I do have my plate back here on a warming zone. My stove has a warming zone, so when these are done, you put them on there. Please, and I know I shouldn't have to say this, but I will, don't use the same plate that you had the raw pork on to put the cooked pork on. Just felt the need to say it. So another minute or so, and we'll put this on here. And then we will go from there. So let me check one more time with the water. Not quite yet, but it's getting there. And so check the potatoes one more time. They're looking good inside. Perfect. So let me check one more. This will actually be ready now. And I think if you heard that, you heard a little bit of a pop, that means it's ready. So we're going to take just two of the pork chops, and we're going to put the Sofrito side up first, okay? That'll allow it to continue to bake or cook in there and marinate in there. So we're going to put these two in there. Two on there right now. And you can hear it sizzle, so you know it's got a pretty good time. So we're going to let it go for about 5 minutes. Now, by doing this, I'm actually watching the clock as opposed to setting a timer. The reason why I do about 5-10 minutes is because you want to make sure it's cooked all the way through. Pork chops, nowadays, you can serve a little bit undercooked, a little bit pink in the middle. Just be careful it's not too pink, but a little bit pink is okay. Still the safest way, of course, is fully white all the way through. But again, a little bit of pink is fine. The good thing about searing pork chops is you can actually see about halfway up when it's cooking, because you can see the outside of the pork chops and see if they're actually cooking up. So in the 5 minutes, or on each side, 5 to 10 minutes, but closer to 5 minutes, will also give you a nice little bit of a crust on the sear as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to bring us right back when it's time to flip it over. So sit tight. Okay, we're back. The timer just went off on the potatoes, so we're going to pull them out, check to see while the pork chops are still searing in in the skillet there. I'm going to pull out these, and I will take a look to see. Remember, you want them so the potatoes are just soft enough for a fork. So, I'll tip these to you, and the fork easily goes in. So, they're perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the oven off. But in order to keep them warm and keep them in good shape, while the pork chops are still cooking, I'm going to stick them back in the oven just to stay warm. But they are, in fact, fully cooked, which is perfect. We've got about another minute or so before we turn this over. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that, and then we'll cook them for the remaining about 5 or 6 minutes on each side. These may take a little bit longer. It looks like they're a little thicker, so it may be closer to about 8 minutes on either side. So I'm going to drink my wine, by the way, because, as I said, that's the important part. And then we'll flip them over, and then we'll put them on the plate, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all done. So sit tight. We're back again. Okay, we're just about now ready to turn the pork chops over. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it over so you can see, by the way, you can see a nice brown crust on that. And I'm going to turn it over, and with the sofrito side down now, will help make the taste kind of solidify. Same thing on this side. I'm going to pick this up. Again, look at that. Nice and crispy on that. And turn it right side down. Okay? And again, we're talking probably, because of the thickness of these, we're talking about probably closer to 8 minutes of time. So we'll let these cook for the 8 minutes, and then we will show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right? Sit tight. Okay, we're back. The 2 of the 4 pork chops are almost done. I put the other 2 in there to get them started because we still have to do those. Best way to check, people will say the meat thermometer. Don't disagree with that. I do what I've always done. I look inside. If it's pink, too pink, it's not done. However, it is done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. And you can see a nice crispy crust on that one. And a nice crust on that one as well. Okay? And I'm going to actually flip the other ones over while they're in there, while they're cooking, so I can get those cooking while I'm doing it. And then I'm going to prepare what it's going to look like here when it's done. So we'll take one of these, put it on there. And what I did also, you can see I did a little bit of spinach and bacon. First of all, bacon goes with everything. So a little spinach with bacon on the side there. Take some potatoes. I'm going to reach over here. I actually took them out of the oven already. Put some potatoes alongside of it. Sorry, it's actually out of frame, but I had no place to sit it. So this is what it looks like when it's all done. This is seared pork chop with sofrito seasoning, garlic potatoes, a little bit of spinach with some bacon on top of it, and that is our Saturday night date night dinner. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope it's easy for you to cook. I hope you enjoy it when you try it at home. And I hope you have a great, great date night with your loved one. And I will see you next time. Please like and subscribe to the video. And like and subscribe my channel as well, because that way you'll be able to see as new ones pop up. Thank you again so much for joining me. I enjoyed this so much, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have yourself a great, great night.